Hey guys, it's Claire here from the Little Design Corner. I am an interior designer, an educator and a mum of 3 boys, and on this channel I share videos for interior designers, decorators, home renovators who want to create beautiful homes to live in, as well as businesses that they love to work in as well. And in today's video, what I want to do is talk all about websites for interior designers. Now, did you know that you have about 5 seconds for someone to come to your website and decide whether they are going to stick around? You really don't have that much time to try and attract or entice someone to start to hang around and hover around on your website. And when I'm looking around at websites for my students in my online courses and other designers in my industry, I really do find that so many of them make it really difficult for their visitors to actually find what they're looking for. So their design websites may look fantastic, they may have beautiful portfolios, but they're trying to be more clever than they need to be. And I think a lot of designers and a lot of people in the creative industries do forget that your website is an asset, a marketing asset that you want to try and make as easy for people to understand and as easy for people to find what they're looking for as possible. So one of the core mistakes that I see people making is they make their website far too much about them. It's far too much about showing off their design work and making themselves look really good, and they don't think enough about the visitor who's coming to visit their website. So in today's video, what I want to do is share 5 ways that you can improve your own website so that you can try and attract the right people, and once you get them there, to actually try and get them to stick around and look at the different things that you have to offer on your website. So we want to turn your website around from just being a portfolio of design work to actually being something that thinks about the ideal customer that you're trying to attract and the problems and the needs that they have, and ultimately how you can help them to solve these problems. Now, before we jump into the core content of today's video, please, if you are new around here, think about subscribing to the channel and also hit the notifications bell so that you can be notified whenever I put up new videos. Okay, so what we are going to do is I am going to jump over to my own website. I'm going to then talk you through the 5 different ways that you can think about improving your own design website. And so let's go over and jump into today's video. Okay, so let's get started with the 5 things that you can do to try and improve your website. Now, the first and most important thing that I want to get across in this video is for you to remember that your website actually is not for you. Your website is for your ideal client. So this is definitely the biggest mistake that I see designers make. They make their entire website consisting really of project images and information all about them, and that's really not what this should be about. So in fact, for this video, I did a little bit of a review of some of the major Australian designers, and in many instances, I found websites that had about 3 core sections. So generally a design portfolio, an about me page, and then a contact page if you were lucky. And on this contact page that listed out an email address and a phone number. And on some websites, they had a blog as well if we were lucky, but not all of them did. And if they did have a blog, often this was called something like a notebook or a journal or something like that. So it wasn't even called a blog, which is already making things much, much harder for your audience than it absolutely needs to be. So don't get me wrong, some of these websites looked absolutely amazing, but they didn't tell me anything about who the company was that I would be engaging to work with, how to get started working with this company. It didn't tell me what they wanted me to do next. So how would I actually even get in contact with the company? And I just really didn't find out enough about whether this was going to be someone who even took on new clients at the moment. Do they take on my kind of project? Any of those sorts of things that if you are a client that is looking for someone to help with their project, that's what's going to be running through their brain. So let's imagine that I actually am a potential client and that I'm trying to find a new designer to work with me on my project. So let's assume that I have 2 designers and I'm checking out both their websites in terms of the type of design work that they do or the project quality or all those sorts of things that you might do when you're looking at a website. So let's say that we are that potential client and that they're they're looking at these two different websites. So on Designer A's website, they click over and they've got a homepage that has a range of project images on it and a statement about the designer or the design firm. So all about them and what they've achieved and who they've worked for and all the accolades they have and all the awards they've won and all of that sort of stuff. So then Designer A's website, they're going to look around a bit more on the site, but then they find the design portfolio. So that's fine and that's interesting. It shows some of the projects and it gives the potential client a bit of a sense of the aesthetic of the designer. They then look for a page about services and fees, but generally they're not going to be able to find that. In fact, they didn't find that on Designer A's website. They were looking around and they found something called Notebook. So they clicked on that and then they found that this was the designer's blog, but it didn't have really any content there actually. In fact, the last post was written about 18 months ago. So this was not overall the best impression. Still, they have you on their shortlist and they've clicked on the Contact Us page to see what they're meant to do to get started with working with this particular designer and how it all works to get started with their project, only to just find an email and a phone number and that's it. So that is the experience of this particular potential client looking at Designer A's website. Now let's contrast that with then looking over to the other person on this potential client's shortlist, which is Designer B's website. Now let's have a think about what they're looking at on Designer B's website. So they come to the homepage and on the homepage there is a really clear statement about who the business is and exactly what problem they solve. In fact, this statement in this pretend example says, we help families create functional homes that are easy to live in. So this potential client already knows exactly that this business can help them with the problem that they have, which is to create a new family home. They scroll down a bit on the homepage and then they find a button that says what it's like to work with us. So they click on this button and they are taken to a page that lists out the exact steps of how a project works with this particular business. So what is the first step, for example, to book in a design consultation? In fact, there's actually even a booking form on this website so that the potential client can actually book a time right now if they want to. They can pay in advance for a consultation. They also have access to a list of expected fees and they can really get a sense of exactly what it's like to work with this particular designer, how much it might cost them, and exactly what the next steps might be for them to book in and start working with them. They then click over to the section called blog, which they know is going to be a blog, and they find posts from as recent as last week, all about topics that are exactly of interest to them. So they found a blog on creating spaces for kids, renovating with a family in mind, how to choose the right fixtures, fittings and finishes for a family, the storage needs of families, and all of those sorts of topics that really draw this particular client in and get them reading the blog and finding out more about the business and their area of expertise. They then click over to the portfolio and they can see that the spaces created by this Designer B look really good. In fact, they look just as good as what was on Designer A's website. So if you were that client and you had just browsed these two different website experiences, which one do you think that you would choose to work with? Which website has got that client more excited and more engaged, do you think? I probably would argue that it's Designer B's. And the reason for that is that they have made on Designer B, their website has been made all about their potential client. They have given them the information that they want, for example, about what products and services they offer and how much they cost. They've told them what they can do first when they're starting to work together, for example, booking a consultation. And they've even made that super easy by including a booking form right there on the site. They have also got a great blog and it's full of really relevant and helpful content that shows that they really know what they're talking about and that they clearly have a really good range of experience and expertise in the area as well. Now, one thing I know about designers is that they often think that this sort of website, so the website that I was describing for Designer B, won't work well for them. They think that their services are too high end for this sort of website model to work. They think they need their website to look super slick in order to attract their clients, but this just really isn't true. In fact, the average person who wants to work with a designer, even if they have multi-millions to spend, is still looking for the sort of information that's contained in Designer B's website. They still want to know know what the process is for working with you. They want to have an idea of how much it's going to cost. They want to know how to book in with you and what the first steps are. They want to know whether you're actually even taking on new work at the moment. All of these sorts of things are really important to all different types of clients, whether they have a $10,000 budget or a $2 million budget. So having an intimidatingly overly designed website that only includes images of your completed projects plus an email address is not the way to invite people further into your business and want them to do work with you. So make sure your website is about your client and what they actually want to know from you. If you are trying to make your website look super slick and designy, then yes, other designers in the industry might be impressed with this and they might think it looks amazing, but your potential clients, i.e. the people who are paying you money and who are keeping the doors to your business open, will likely move on to a different designer who explains how things work and is more inviting. All right, tip number 2 about your website is to make sure that your homepage starts with a really clear statement about who you help and what problem you solve. Now, remember that you have less than 5 seconds for a person to decide whether or not they're going to stick around on your website. So use your homepage to give a concise overview of who you are, what you help with, what problem you're solving, and how you solve this problem. So what products and services do you have? And also, what do you want people to do next on your website? So for me, obviously I don't work as a designer anymore, but the principles of this are exactly the same. We have here a clear statement of who I help and what I do to help with the problems. I have a clear button about what we can do next, and then I also immediately under that have 2 options to direct people where I want to send them, which is to one of my free workshops. So basically, if your website visitors can't work out what you want them to do within a few seconds, they are most likely going to leave the website. And in order to help them know what to do, you really are going to need to have a clear statement at the top of your homepage about who you are and who you help. So a formula that can help you to put this together is this one. So we, company helps your ideal client. So, families, high-end clients, whoever your ideal client might be, with whatever their problem might be, by providing a particular product or service. So this formula will work for anyone. So for example, here are a couple of examples. So Interior Studio, which is the name of the business, helps families improve the functionality of their home while making it beautiful and easy to live in. Or ABC Designs creates luxury high-end homes for Sydney residents. We take the stress out of renovating with our full-service design process that takes you from concept to completion. Sally helps homeowners make the most out of their budgets by guiding them on where to spend and where to save in their renovation. So that's just a few examples, but use this formula and put together a statement that will help a visitor know who you work with and what you can help them with. All right, the third way that you can improve your website is to use multiple calls to action. So getting people to find you and to come to your website these days is actually not an easy task. So once you actually get them there, you want to make sure that you not only try and keep them there for as long as possible, and definitely for longer than 5 seconds, but you also want to tell them what you need or want them to do next. So once they are gone, you may never get them back to your website. So this is really your big opportunity to grab their attention and to get them to do something with you. So remember that people will be coming to your website for a particular purpose. So it might be to find out more about you or to learn about your services. It might be to read a blog post you've written or to see if you sell a particular product or service that they're looking for. Whatever the reason, make sure that you easily facilitate the transition to where they might want to go next. Also, try not to confuse on your website. So don't offer 15 different options for places to go or links or buttons to click, because this will be really confusing and it'll just result in people feeling overwhelmed and not taking any action at all. You want to instead have 1 or 2 clear calls to action that really directs them towards exactly what you want them to do. And that'll ideally be to move them towards something that will help you build a closer relationship with them. So for example, with these 2 workshops, you would click on this button here. You would give your email address and then you would have access to my 1-hour free training. So This helps in a couple of ways. Firstly, the person can start to get to know a bit more about me by taking one of my free workshops and learning more about me and my business and what I've got to offer. But secondly, I have then also been able to capture that person's email address, which means that I can then nurture them through my email newsletter, which I send out every Friday with lots of valuable information in it. And over time, this helps people to really get to know me and get to know what happens inside my business. So if you don't give people a clear call to action, so a button to press or a link or an image to click, most people just will not move beyond your homepage. And just do not assume that people are going to know what to do next. Most people need to be told exactly what to do in order to take action. All right, my fourth tip for improving your website is actually to give people what they expect. So many designers try to appeal to other designers instead of trying to appeal to their potential clients. And as a result, they're doing things like, as mentioned before, calling their blog a journal or a notebook or something like that instead of just calling it a blog. And I'm not saying not to use creative flair as part of your website, because obviously you guys are all really creative people, but just make sure you do give people what they expect when they come to your site. Don't make people have to think more than they have to work out where to get to or what they might be wanting to look at. So you want people to visit your website and then immediately understand who you are and what your business offers. And the good news is that the anatomy of a clear and successful website is pretty basic. It has a number of core pages and it doesn't have to be really all that complicated at all. These pages probably will include a homepage, a page about your products and services and perhaps your fees as well, a portfolio page, a blog, and a page about how to contact you and what the steps they will need to take to start working with you. So this might be a booking form to book in for a consultation, for example. So most people are so used to visiting websites these days that these are the sorts of pages and the core elements of a website that you'll want to be able to have on your website as well, because people will understand what your website is about and they will be looking for these sorts of pages as fast as they possibly can. Messing around with this basic structure or calling things by different sort of more clever names means that all you're doing is making people have to think harder for what you want them to find, and that just means that you're going to risk losing people or have them click away or move on to something else because you've just made it too difficult for them. So do not make it hard for people to do business with you. Make things as easy and appealing to your clients as you possibly can, and don't try and appeal to other designers or to the design industry as a whole. Other designers are not the ones, as I mentioned before, who are paying your bills. And my tip number 5 for improving your website is to include social proof on your website. So visitors want to know that you are easy to work with and that you know what you're doing. So use different forms of social proof and testimonials as a way of helping them to feel confident working with you. So your design portfolio is one great way of showing your social proof. It will show that you have worked on a whole range of different projects and that you obviously have had other clients and all of that sort of thing. But also you might want to have a testimonials page where you have testimonials from clients you've worked with, or from, you might even have some videos of people talking about what it's like to work with. And if you can, grabbing screenshots of things or reviews that people have written directly are a really good idea, because people are very cynical about reviews these days. And so having things where you can clearly see that the particular person has written about your business is going to be much better social proof than just only having a bunch of quotes and things like that. So if you can include these, then definitely include as many of them as you can. And if you have won any awards or you've been featured in the media, then definitely have a section on your website about that as well. So you can put in any media or awards that you have won, and you can add in any sort of media features where you may have been written about, or you may have written other articles or anything like that. All of this builds up your credibility, builds up your know, like, and trust factor with your audience, and it's definitely really important to include as much social proof as you can in your website. So those are the 5 ways that you can improve your website, and I really hope they've given you lots of different ideas to think about. The main thing I want to leave you with from today's video is that you have to move away from your website being about you, and you have to create one that's really much more focused on your potential client. So always put yourself in the shoes of your ideal client and think, what would you want or need to know in order for them to choose to work with you? So stop trying to make your design website stand out and appeal to other designers and look super clever. These are not the people who are going to be paying your bills. Spend more time thinking about how to attract and appeal to the people who are paying your bills, so your paying clients. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, then please hit the like button, as it really does help me to get noticed in the YouTube algorithm. And also remember to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell to get notified when my next video goes live. That is it for today. I hope you found this video really helpful. I hope you take some of these tips on board and make some changes to your website. Put in the comments if you do. I would love to hear about them, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye for now.